Here we go.
There's no title bigger than this.
It is great to be back.
Welcome to the Worlds.
Wow.
Just superb.
Grit and determination.
Does her. Gets it done.
What darting entertainment this is.
Brilliant finishing.
And he saves his skin.
Pummeling the trebles again. Oh, he's in again.
There it is.
Nathan Haspel's fired up.
Composure and skill.
Oh, magnificent from Van Gerwen.
He's up there to prove a point.
And this time, Peter gets it right. It's all right on the night at the Alexandra Palace.
Hello and welcome to On The Wire. Welcome to the William Hill World Championship. Welcome to 2021. New year, new me, I say brightly to myself as I find Chris Murphy sat alongside me for the 9 millionth time in my life. But never mind, there are a world of opportunities open to us all, and a world of opportunity open to 8 players here at the World Championship. We reach quarterfinals day on New Year's Day 2021. We've got the semis to follow tomorrow and then the final on January the 3rd. Been exciting so far, hasn't it, Murphy?
Brilliant, absolutely fantastic. Last leg deciders were the order of the last 16. 4 of them, half the games going down to last leg deciders. I think 15 in the tournament already as well. We're going to look at some of them now.
Perhaps this was the most mental one, wasn't it?
The most hilarious, I suppose, but not for the 2 men on the stage.
No.
Krzysztof Ratajski eventually getting the job done, and probably out of the whole field, one of the players that you would at least expect to get in that kind of position.
Yeah, I mean, it just shows that if you're put under that kind of pressure with something completely novel for you on the line, it was the same with Gabriel, then it does tell. And I think it kind of, Van Gerwen, we've seen him before mismatch darts on this stage in previous years, because when you put even the very best in the world under pressure, they can crumble. He did not crumble against Joe Cullen there, though. What a comeback that was.
Yeah, game of the tournament for me, and I think for many people. Van Gerwen surviving 2 darts at the bullseye from Joe Cullen, but he just couldn't get it going in the last leg. The 180 at the start of that leg from Van Gerwen doing the damage.
Yeah, well, we saw Stephen Bunting against Ryan Searle. Ryan Searle coming from way back, and it looked like he had him. He was 2-0 up in this deciding set, and Stephen Bunting managed it. This is the best thing about it. It was like Scott Waits earlier on in the tournament, another last leg decider. 3 consecutive finishes, all with his opponent on a 1 or 2 darter himself. I mean, it was absolutely nerveless stuff from the bullet.
Yeah, and Searle had just hit a 170 to set up that 1 darter for him. So very impressive, and very impressive as well from Dirk van Dijvenbode, although I do question that decision making there from Glenn Durran, who should have been going tops in my opinion.
Should he have been well, the thing is, he was rattled, because you know what Glenn had? He had that. You know what that is?
A pillow?
It's the 2-set cushion. And the 2-set cushion was still not enough against Dirk van Dijvenbode, the auberginiest. Now, Dirk, he keeps on doing this. You converted now, aren't you?
Yeah, really impressed with Dirk, and we'll come on to his opponent in today's match in a few moments' time, because I think that's a very interesting match between Dirk and Gary Anderson. But yeah, I think that Dirk has got every chance of going on to win major honours in the PDC.
Well, look, before we show you the highlights from the other 4 players we're going to be seeing in action today, because it is quarterfinals day, we'll see the semi-final lineup confirmed. We've gone through all of those last leg deciders. Now, they're last leg deciders, as you'll notice, 5th leg of a deciding set. Normally, we'd have tiebreakers.
Yeah.
So it would go potentially another 5 legs before we got there, and there'd be a bit more back and forth. You might never get that sudden death leg. It's only because the council here in Haringey say, look, you've got to be out by midnight, and so we're not able to do that. It's completely understandable. A lot of people really bemoaning the fact, tiebreakers are brilliant. I've really missed tiebreakers, but look at the drama we've had.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. I misspoke earlier. It's 14 last leg decided.
There we go.
Not 15.
Right.
But I think it's actually being more dramatic, because we're guaranteed that sudden death leg when it gets to that stage. As you said, a player breaks to win the final set 3-2, and in the old format they would have had to win the next leg as well to win the match, and there'd still have been a chance for say Peter Wright or whoever to come back into it. I also think it's potentially fairer, because in the previous sets they've just had to win 3-2, and then it gets into the last set and all of a sudden it goes into a tie-break situation. So I think this might be something one of many things actually that's been stumbled on this year that could be kept, because I think it's actually added to the drama rather than taken away from it.
Well, look, I mean, I'm a fan of instant gratification, Murph.
Well, me too.
Yeah. So I quite like the fact we just go hold. Right, last leg decider, sudden death leg. Let's get it on. I quite enjoy that because everybody loves watching a sudden death leg. But I also think that some of those times when you get those tiebreakers where they just keep on holding, or maybe you do get a break and then they break back immediately, you do get some drama and it just builds and builds and builds. I think that really we've been blessed with some incredible games in this format. We might have missed out on a couple of even more incredible ones in the other format, but maybe we've benefited. I don't know.
Possibly. I'm happy with what we've got. Dan.
Yeah, I
you
think
always
that's
want
it.
more.
I do. That is true. That is absolutely true. Let's show you the other 4 guys who came through in, I would like to say, slightly less stressful circumstances, but I mean, it wasn't entirely straightforward. Even for Daryl Gurney, who looked like the better player throughout the game, certainly won a lot more legs than Vincent van der Voort.
Yeah, we've just seen there he survived a dart to go to a final set. All the other games that went to a final set went to a final leg, last leg decider as well. Gary Anderson, very, very comfortable. A far cry from his previous match, winning that one 4-0. But
Not very good though, was it?
Not amazing. I think Devon played into his hand a little bit and played by the Gary Anderson rule book. We'll talk about that in a moment. Gerwyn Price was also made to feel comfortable by Mervyn King, who did not react once to his screaming and shouting.
Very strange. But this is not comfortable because Dave Chisnall and Dimitri Vandenberg were averaging up closer to 110 than they were 100 for a big chunk of this game. Absolutely incredible standard. Probably, in terms of the standard of darts from both players, the highest we've seen in an individual game in this tournament, isn't it?
Absolutely, and the way that Dave Chisnall dealt with a pace that probably doesn't suit him was very, very impressive. Playing a really good standard. Can he take that into the match against Michael van Gerwen? That's usually a different kettle of fish for Dave Chisnall, but hopefully, because that would be a brilliant match if he does. But full credit to Dimitri Vandenberg. He's up there now. He's already a major winner, one of the best players in the world, and potentially a future winner of this tournament.
Well, before we show you the schedule for today, we've done this every day. We've sat around, who do you think's going to win, all this stuff. How did your predictions go for the last 16, Murph?
I can't remember. Last year, wasn't it? You know.
Yeah. I'll give you a clue. Absolutely horrendous. Not a clue. Everything wrong. So bear that in mind.
I'll just correct you there. I did say that Gerwyn Price would win. I did say that. But I said he'd win because Mervyn King would get totally rattled by his celebrations, and not a flicker, flicker from the King.
No.
Who apparently said to Price, I don't mind when you do it, it's just when the other lot do it.
Yeah.
Bizarre goings on.
Who knows? But look, bear that in mind when we have a look at what action we've got today, because it is a fabulous looking day of darts. Krzysztof Ratajski, the Polish #1 in his first ever quarterfinal, the first Polish player to reach the quarterfinals of this tournament, against Stephen Bunting in the quarterfinals for only the second time, the first time since his debut at this event back in 2014. Gary Anderson, the 2-time winner, against Dirk van Duijvenbode, unseeded Dirk van Duijvenbode. A year ago, he was practicing for Q School. That's what can happen. The pathways that are there, and of course he beat Gary at the World Grand Prix quarterfinals. Gerwyn Price, second favourite for the title, against Daryl Gurney, the Welsh #1 and the Northern Irish #1, and Michael van Gerwen versus Dave Chisnall. Let's take them in order. Krzysztof Ratajski, Stephen Bunting. I think Bunting's actually been getting better as the tournament's gone on, to be honest.
Yeah, if you're going to do what you did today, then I'm just going to say one of them will win this match. But yeah, you're right. I think Stephen Bunting has been getting better. And actually, Krzysztof Ratajski, this is bizarre because for a long time we've seen him play brilliant stuff and not get the results that he deserves. This year he hasn't played fantastically, but he's found himself in the quarterfinals for the first time. I'm really struggling to call this one, but overall, based on how things have gone for them the last year or so, I think I would just lean towards Ratajski. Would you agree with that?
The thing is with Ratajski, I don't think we've seen the best. I thought he was very, very good in his second game, but he hasn't shown his best stuff. I just think that it's going to turn up.
Yeah,
it's going to turn up at some point, and it might be a ridiculous 107 average, and then all of a sudden everybody who's watched him through this tournament gone, yeah, he's good. Might somebody go, hang on, he could win this thing. I think that Ratajski has to go off as the favourite in that one, and I think that he's going to produce a performance at some point.
Agree.
What about Gary Anderson versus Dirk van Duijvenbode? Because I'll chuck a stat at you here. All the tournament averages of the 8 players you've got today, Gary Anderson is the lowest.
Interesting, and it's been more like Gary Angerson, hasn't it, through this tournament? Brilliant stuff.
Yeah.
He's really annoyed by you boys, and when Mardle and Rod Harrington and Matt Webster have said nothing about it, but Gary, something's got his goat, and I don't think it's just Mensa Suljovic, because we've seen this actually towards the back end of the year. There was something going on at the Grand Slam with Gary Anderson, but last time he was getting fired up like this, he went out of the World Championship and came back and won it for the next 2 years. So it's interesting to see if this is Gary actually trying to light a fire in himself. But very, very interesting to see how it goes against Dirk, because as you said, he beat him at the Grand Prix, did Dirk, and he plays at an erratic pace. It's different. It doesn't
quick,
flow.
quick, slow, slow, quick, quick. He'll stop. Now Dirk says Gary is his hero in the game. He says, I'm not going to try any tactics, I wouldn't do that. How could you do that to your hero? Even beating him at the World Grand Prix, he was like, how could I do this to Gary Anderson? He's like, he's my idol in
I'm
this.
I'm already worried for Dirk if that's the attitude.
But then he beats him at the Grand Prix.
He did. As long as he plays his own game, and his own game is a game that Anderson will not be suited to. But as long as he plays his own game and does not bow down and pray at the altar of Anderson, because that didn't get Devon Peterson anywhere, did it? Although he kind of did play his own game. I suggested he shouldn't have, and I was right. I was right, Dan.
You were right, but you're a bad example to
I'm a
kids.
bad man,
What a
bad
ticket. Anyway, Gerwyn Price, Daryl Gurney. Daryl can beat anybody in the world. That's his own description of himself as a player. I'm not the best player in the world, but I can beat the best player in the world. You know what he hasn't done? Beaten Gerwyn Price on TV.
Yeah, and
Ever.
if you'd have said to me before this tournament, it'll be Price against Gurney in the quarterfinals, I would have said Gerwyn Price all day long. I've probably been more impressed with Gurney in this tournament than I have been with Price so far. Dominant against King, very good against Brendan Dolan, but not quite at that Michael van Gerwen level that we've seen so far in this tournament. So I think that will be a close game. I still think he will edge it, but I don't think that he'll just demolish Daryl Gurney.
Yeah, and there's a caveat to that. Gurney may not have beaten Gerwyn Price in a big TV stage, but he has come very, very close. They've had 4 draws.
Draw in the Premier League. Was it this year or last year that it was a
All
bit
the
of
time.
argy-bargy on the stage
yes,
afterwards?
they've had a bit of fire as well. They're quite good mates. They get on, but when they get up on stage, they're just so competitive that it can boil over. I'm very interested to see how that pans out. And Michael van Gerwen versus Dave Chisnell. Now, I believe this is the longest unbeaten streak between 2 players in darts that we've seen anywhere.
Yeah.
Certainly current. Because Van Gerwen had won the last 12, then they drew one, and prior to that, Van Gerwen had won the previous 14.
Wow.
27 games dating back to April 2017. Chizzy, I only looked this up because Chizzy said after he'd won his quarter-final against his last 16 against Dimitri, yeah, I haven't beaten Van Gerwen in a bit. I was like, a bit? I think it's more than a bit. But yeah, 27 matches without a victory. Could it end? Because Whitlock has beaten him 3 times in a row on TV after a similar kind of spell.
Often when Michael van Gerwen, Phil Taylor, or whoever it might be that goes on to win big tournaments, the biggest tournament of all, they have one game where they could have been beaten. I just wonder if that's happened already for Michael van Gerwen in this tournament. Dave Chisnell, it's an interesting one because he's not a player who thinks about the game too much, but this particular thing is in his head. He's speaking about it already. Is he going to change that 28 games later? I don't think so. I think Van Gerwen wins that. But Chisnell played really well in the last round.
If he plays like he did against Dimitri, he could beat anybody, including Michael van Gerwen, could he not?
He could. I just happen to think that Van Gerwen is just on a different level, and I'm actually going to say it now. I think that Van Gerwen is going to win this tournament.
Wow. Well, we'll see if MVG will be having a bone to pick with Chris Murphy, because he's certainly got everything wrong in the last 16, or pretty much
last
everything
16
wrong.
years, to be honest.
There we go. So that is your menu for today. The Polish number 1 and the Bullet, Gary Anderson and Dirk van Dijvenbode. That's the hero of Dirk that he's going up against. Gerwyn Price and Daryl Gurney, second favourite of the title, Welsh number 1 against the Northern Irish number 1. And then Dave Chisnell looking to upset the odds to stop the campaign for a 4th William Hill World Championship title for MVG and to just overturn that horrendous record. It is quarterfinals day here at Ali Pali. Welcome to 2021. It's going to be a belter.